As citizens, we rely on governments to pass laws that discourage wrongdoing and facilitate its detection and prosecution. We rely on our prosecutors and law enforcement to investigate wrongdoing and hold criminals accountable. We rely on the media to expose wrongdoing. We rely on our companies to play their part too. In particular, particularly with money laundering, we rely on our banks and their regulators because money laundering is so central to a lot of serious crime. I haven't got so much time to talk about how well some of these actors have been playing their roles in Europe over the last few years. Let me just say that it is true that a committee of the European Parliament described the performance of the Danish financial regulator as grossly incompetent. It's also true that in our world-leading companies register here in the UK, one of the directors was Jesus Christ, whose nationality was angelic. Not sure whether you see that on the drop-down menus all the time. Country of residence, heaven, and occupation, creator. There is room for improvement. So where do whistleblowers fit into this? Above all, whistleblowers are citizens. As citizens, we can't just delegate everything to our governments, prosecutors, media, or to anyone else. Sometimes as citizens, it's necessary for us to act ourselves and play our own individual role. Now, I've heard whistleblowers described as being disloyal to their employers. I think it's actually the opposite. Whistleblowers are the most loyal employees of all. The whole point of whistleblowing is to make things better and to try to prevent damage to their employers. You can ask the current management of Danske Bank how much damage could have been prevented had the previous management of Danske Bank taken more notice back in 2014. In Eastern Europe, the other common criticism is that whistleblowers are just like KGB snitches. Get serious. We're talking a completely different level of wrongdoing. We're talking about really serious crimes that are reported by whistleblowers. We're not talking about things like, in the Soviet context, reporting your neighbor for celebrating Christmas, or in the COVID world here in the UK, reporting your neighbor for having 2 walks in one day, or for having 7 people to a barbecue. We're talking whistleblowing about serious crime. Some crime or wrongdoing simply can't be picked up very easily from outside an organization. Sometimes, sadly, management in organization covers up wrongdoing, even when it knows full well that it's going on. And that's why whistleblowers are so important in exposing wrongdoing if we want to build the society that we all want to live in. So 6 and a bit years on since I sent my first whistleblowing email, that was 27th of December 2013, are we in a better place than we were then? I think so. In Europe, the whistleblowing directive has come into force, and this gives a minimum level, for the first time, a minimum level of protection of whistleblowers and recognises the importance of whistleblowing. Many have played important roles in advocating for the directive, and notably Transparency International. And now EU member states have to turn the directive into law in each of the individual countries. Now that can be done in a way that's really in the spirit of supporting and encouraging whistleblowing, or it can be done in a minimalist way. I think we all need to continue to advocate that countries do it properly, that they produce laws which fully recognise the spirit and intention of the whistleblowing directive. Here in the UK too, there's an increasing recognition that our old law, the Public Interest Disclosure Act, which gives a level of protection to whistleblowers, is simply old and no longer fit for purpose and needs updating. So the legal framework's improving, but all too often one still reads stories of whistleblowers who've really suffered a lot of hardship, have been punished essentially for their whistleblowing. And I'm not talking about me. In the end, I moved from Estonia back to the UK and carried on life, albeit that 4 years later, my name came out and I haven't welcomed all of the publicity. There are others who've really suffered. They've lost their jobs, they've lost their livelihoods, and in some cases, the pressures have caused their families to break up. As citizens, it's not something that any of us should accept. We should welcome the important work that whistleblower organisations such as the National Whistleblower Centre in the US and Whistleblowers UK carry out. But really, we should all be striving to ensure that whistleblowers are respected, if not cherished. So thank you very much for honouring me with the Allard Prize. It sends an important message. Whistleblowing is important, and whistleblowers should be valued in building the sort of society that we all want to live in.